mystery of the clickbait explosion in Jesus Christ.
Welcome to the Mystic Journey. I'm your co-journeyer, Reverend Christian Jansen. In the Mystic Journey, it's, cosmic communication. I'm hoping to provide some information, some insight, some wisdom, digging into the ancient wisdom. This is for the seeker. This is for those who have fallen out of the old way, who are unsure of the path ahead. This is for you. Today's episode is called Watermelon Trees. Jesus is quoted in the book of Luke. He says in chapter 6, starting with verse 43, "No good tree bears bad fruit, nor does a bad tree bear good fruit. Each tree is recognized by its own fruit. People do not pick figs from thorn bushes or grapes from briars. The good man brings good things, and out of the good stored up of his heart. And the evil man brings evil things, out of the evil stored up in his heart. For out of the overflow of his heart, his mouth speaks." I think when we look at Jesus' teachings, at least when I was first introduced to the teachings of Jesus, it was given to me, it was presented to me in a way that was prescriptive. It was a prescription. And so when I was first introduced to these ancient wisdom teachings of Jesus, I read them and saw them as prescriptions. Don't be the evil one, right? And so watch what you think, watch what you say. Behavior modification. Watch what you say. Don't say, rather than authenticity. Rather than what I think really is happening in a lot of the Jesus teachings is it's more descriptive than it is prescriptive. He's describing to us and to the people, this is what it is. This is what it is. I've also, when I was first introduced to this scripture, judgment was another thing that came out of this scripture. To judge a man by the fruit, bearing good fruit. Judge another. More harmful than that, judge myself. When we look at it through this prescriptive lens, it becomes behavior modification. Let me just use myself as an example. I would say, well, then I'm not going to cuss. I'm not going to allow, foul speech come out of my lips because I don't want it to be bearing bad fruit. Not even considering that the heart transformation was the thing that really needed to happen. As the description says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So if the mouth is speaking, it's a mouth is speaking evil. It's a sign. It's a check engine light that there's a malfunction going on internally. I mean, do we need to get into describing what evil speech is? I don't know. Maybe. I think that there's just there's a thing about this stuff when we look at it through the prescriptive lens, it becomes about behavior modification. And then it matters about what are the exact words that you're saying. We're not looking at heart transformation. And when we look at it through this descriptive lens, where Christ is describing the human condition, that opens up the door for heart transformation. Jesus is describing how it works. This is how it works. And I think it's important that we look at heart transformation. And that, my friends, takes time, which I think is not lost on Jesus, which is why he uses the example of the tree. And that trees take time. If you were to plant a tree today, it would take time before that tree bore fruit. So there's time in heart transformation. There's also pruning and caring for the tree. The same with heart transformation. Growing, becoming who you really are. The heart is becoming transformed, and oftentimes by the very grace of God itself. I think when we get to this behavior modification, which a lot of religion is stuck at, and a lot of religious teachers are stuck at, a lot of people are stuck at behavior modification. And I would say it's like, it's like treating the symptoms. That's kind of how we are, right? Like, I just got done being sick, and I wanted something to get rid of the symptoms. The healing was going to take time, and I needed the medicine to do that. And that medicine was going to take time, and time takes time, bro. It's going to take what it's going to take for the healing, for the infection to be healed, right? Or the virus to be expelled from my body or worked through, whatever the hell was going on in there. But during that time, I wanted to treat the symptoms. I wanted to ease my pain a little bit, or my discomfort. But treating the symptoms is not the same as curing the disease. Behavior modification is not the same as heart transformation. But now they are connected. I think let's look at this triage versus healing example. Okay? If you were to get into, if your body was to be harmed in a severe way and you had to go into an emergency room, they would put you into triage, which is keep you alive, stop you from dying. Let's stop you from dying first. Let's get the guts out of the body and let's put them back in the body. And let's sew that back up. So triage is important in the healing process. Some of us are good with just the triage. Guts are back in the body. Cool. Let's go. We're not looking at the reason why we even got in the wreck in the first place. So behavior modification is akin to the triage. Now, in the event of the triage, they're just trying to stabilize the body. Get it to where you're not dying. All right? Then we can look at the underlying causes. If while they're in the triage, they find something like cancer or something in there. I'm just trying to use an example. All right? And they find something in there. Well, they're not going to be able to treat that underlying cause or issue. They're going to have to first stabilize and then go deeper. So the behavior modification and the heart transformation is connected. The triage and the extended healing, the lasting healing, is connected. A lot of us don't start facing things until they're at that triage level, until the pain is so great, or until the guts are out of the body, metaphorically. And maybe I should stop using that as a sample because it's kind of graphic. But you know what I mean? Like, until the pain is enough, we go, okay, maybe I should get this checked out. And until that pain is that great, we don't address it. Then we get triaged. We get the triage, we get the behavior modification, and then good, cool, all right, that's good. Now keep moving on. Then the behaviors come back up. So with only triage, what's happening? And let's talk about this as far as spiritually, psychomatically, right? When we're only triaging and not transforming the heart, when we're only modifying behavior and not transforming the heart, what we're doing is it's more ego. It's more self. Because we're not letting go. It's more lower self. Because we're just the lower self, the ego is focused on the external. Right? It's about, how do I look? What do others think about how I look? What do I do? What others think about what I do? That's the ego's job, is to kind of be external centric and kind of paying attention to the external world. But when it comes to heart transformation, that's an inside job. We're going to need a higher power. So when we're only doing the triage, when we're only doing the behavior modification, what we're doing is, it's just we're like putting more ego on top of it. We're just patching the hole, you know. So triage with the healing equals transformation. So let's see if I can, just worried if I'm not making enough sense here. The addict begins the journey with one thing in mind. Stop getting high. Stop dying. That's the beginning. Triage. Behavior modification. Don't drink. Don't be a dick. But let's first just start on don't drink. We'll get to not being a dick later on. So the addict begins the journey with behavior modification. All right, let's stop the bleeding. Let's stop the dysfunctional, erratic, harmful behaviors. Behavior modification. Good. But if we stop there, if you just start doing the right thing without digging deeper, what we end up is with a better disguised ego. And rather than using substances to escape reality, we're going to use other things. Status, work, whatever. So most of us stop at the triage. We stop at the behavior modification. But there's so much more to life to be had. There's so much more freedom to be had. There's so much more to experience in healing. The deeper heart. The triage with the healing equals transformation. And if you're listening and you've gotten to this point, then you want transformation. You want to transcend from what you are at this moment. And maybe the behaviors are the key indicators, which is what the scripture is saying. The behaviors are the key indicator that there's a heart transformation that's needed. So we're looking at the behavior at first. The thing about a life with Christ, with a higher power, with spirit, is when lived out authentically, it will lead to transformation. Not what everybody says it should be like. It's about creating a daily communion with this higher power, the Spirit, that works for you. And in the beginning, you might need to do what works for everybody else, because there's a reason why it works for everybody else: prayer and meditation. But how you pray and how you meditate, that's left to an authentic expression between you and the Spirit. Not to say it's not to be talked about or communicated with, or you're not to open that part of your life up to another person, because there's great value in that. You know, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing right now, is I'm trying to open up what I've seen and what I've felt and what I've been through to try to express to you the value of the daily devotion, the daily letting go of myself. And, you know, admittedly, I don't learn to let go of myself daily until there's some behaviors that come with not letting go of myself that I don't like anymore and I want to get rid of. You know, Richard Rohr talks about this verse, and when he talks about it, he talks about, you know, that it, you know, like, because the fruit comes in seasons. So there's a season when the fruit should be bare, you know, ripe, ready for the picking. And during that season, you know, the first season might not be great. The second season might be better, you know. So it's over time. And I think of like looking at myself and my inner world from a year ago to who I am today. If I look at my spiritual transformation and growth in emotional healing from yesterday to today, there's not going to be much that I'm going to be able to measure. When I look at it from a year ago, I can see the growth. I can see the benefit of a consistent spiritual practice being executed daily. So heart transformation takes time, and we'll be able to judge the tree by its fruit, but it's going to take time. You'll be able to, you know, you see the behavior. It's like sometimes I'll notice when I talk to somebody, maybe they're 60 days sober, and, you know, I'll have to, I find myself doing this with people a lot, reminding them where they were 30 days ago, 60 days ago, a year ago. Because we need to be reminded about how far God has carried us, how much we've grown from where we were. And even in a 60-day, in that beginning where it's like, man, 60 days ago, you was smoking crack. And today you worried about the job ain't good enough. We need to be shown our own fruit sometimes. So there's value in opening up this spiritual growth, that this is not to be done alone, but to open it up to other co-journeyers. St. Francis de Sales, or de Sales, has a quote that I read, and I really like this. He says, "Have patience with all things, but first with yourself. Never confuse your mistakes with your value as a human being. You are perfectly valuable, creative, worthwhile person simply because you exist. And no amount of triumphs or tribulations can ever change that." When we're focused on behavior and we're judging we're judging our self-worth by our behavior, alone. It's really easy to be down on ourselves. It's really easy to not love ourselves. There's a quote by Teresa Avila, I think it's worth putting in here, if I can find it quickly. And what she says is essentially, here we go. Teresa of Avila said that the sinner is actually one who does not love himself or herself enough. We do not see or admire the whole self, so we split and try to love the good self and reject the bad self. So when we're rejecting the bad self, rejecting the bad fruit, we're not taking a whole look at everything to say, okay, the bad fruit is a sign that there's some more transformation that needs to happen. And to let that happen in the time it takes. Time takes time. So that's what I got. It don't take long to tell the truth. And don't go picking watermelon from trees, bro, because that's not where they grow. And be kind to yourself. You're worth the work. You're worth the surrendering. You're worth facing the fear of surrendering and letting go. And you're worthy of being free. Just right as you are. No matter what you've done, no matter what you've been through, no matter what you've put other people through, you are worth it. So get on with it. All right, that's what I got. This message has been brought to you by Most High Ministries and the great supporters of Most High Ministries making this possible. Peace and blessings. I hope you continue on your journey. Reach out if you need any help. Contact at themosthighshow.com. Happy to help out where I can. Peace.